Hey everybody, this is another edition of our Staff Conversation series, and we have Sophie Cressig here talking to us today. Hi, Sophie.
Hello.
So you're a new addition to the CTC staff. So can you just briefly talk about what your job is now and how long you've been doing it?
Well, I've been doing it since Monday of last week, so not too long. And I am the title of Assistant General Manager. So I'm working alongside Maggie in a lot of the general management of the theater, taking on some of her extra tasks that she doesn't have time for anymore. So, and then I'm also assisting with the bookkeeping and more of the finances as well, to take that responsibility off of volunteer.
That's great. I know you've just started, but how's the transition going so far? It's like kind of a dumb question to ask with only 2 weeks in, but I just wonder, like, how's it going?
It's going good. I feel like the first week I was absorbing a lot of information, and then this week we've had a bunch of meetings, and it just all of a sudden it feels like I've hit the ground running, and that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Still definitely a lot more to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a process. And I think it's a lot to learn for all of us because we're kind of starting to operate in a slightly different way with expanded staff. So it's really exciting. And we're all trying to figure out, myself included, trying to figure out how the theater operates now with new people taking on new roles and sort of shifting responsibilities for people that already had it. And yeah, it's all a great learning process, I think.
Yeah, and like coming back to life after being away or in kind of really pared back for the past year. So
yeah, it feels like kind of being a little dormant for the time, and now we're kind of like creeping back in. We're all learning how to. We had a staff meeting yesterday, and we're kind of like all learning how to like do jobs again, in a way. When we're learning how to work together, we're actually working sort of remotely, sort of together. You and I, just so people know like what it's like right now, you and I are at the theater right now. You're in the lobby and I'm in the theater. But that's not always how it is. I'm at home sometimes, you're at home sometimes, you're in the Hammy house working. Chris and Maggie are working in their own house, like Rebecca's at her house. So it's a really collaborative work environment normally. That's how it should be. But we're kind of all in our separate spheres right now. So that makes it a little weird. How are you feeling with that?
For me, it's been good. I think I was working from home full time before this. So I'm kind of used to that, like being at home and checking in virtually with the people you're working with. But I've appreciated like having the flexibility and the openness to be able to come here in the afternoons and just like know that, oh, people will be around if I have a question or something like that. And also just it's a beautiful place to be when the sun's out. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, so you've actually worn a lot of hats at CTC, so to speak, probably literally, but I mean, in terms of jobs.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the like different jobs you've done at CTC over the last like years?
Yeah. So obviously I've been a big part of like the scripted shows, and then slowly started getting more into the improv as well, and eventually even taking up some teaching roles in the improv world, specifically around music and musical improv. And then I'm bad at years. So for a couple years, I was managing the bar and concession stand and all the volunteers that come through there. And then now here I am as assistant general manager. So I think that covers it, but also just like general volunteer and like person that enjoys being here to help out. So yeah.
I feel like in my own like personal history, both with theater in general and with this theater, I've kind of done I've been a little tunnel vision in the roles that I've played. I've like acting, directing, artistic directing, it's kind of like all one. And I admire people that wear a lot of different varying hats. I think you've worked on props on shows before.
Oh,
You've got
yeah, I did choreography.
Yeah, you choreographed Gypsy. So I really admire
that. But yeah.
And I wonder what drives you to wear so many hats and try so many different things.
I think it's just comes from an excitement of being involved. And I'm one of those people that has a hard time saying no. So if somebody asks me to do something, I feel appreciated and then want to help out in as much way as I can. So I often will just say yes to everything because I want to help out. But yeah, it's just such a community here that, of course, at the drop of any, here we keep saying hats, at the instant you ask me, I'm gonna say yes, because I just love being here and love the people here and want to continue to see the theater grow.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's something that maybe people in the public don't realize quite as much, is that the theater really thrives and functions on people like you that are just say yes. They just want to help. They have a lot of different skills, a lot of different talents, and they want to bring them all, and they want to try different things. And so sometimes people will comment when they come in to see a show, and it was oh, you're taking the ticket now, and oh, now you're giving me my drink, and oh, now next week you'll be on stage. And that's kind of how things work when you're a small theater. Everybody kind of has to do everything. So
yeah,
it's kind of exciting that way.
Yeah, absolutely. It fosters that family feeling that anybody could have when they walk through the door.
Yeah, definitely. Do you ever feel like you're wearing too many hats, or are you just trying to keep piling on the hats?
No, I think the hats right now feel very specific and different, so I'm able to take one off and put one on as needed. Yeah, so not at this time.
That's cool. I want to talk about you as a performer here, especially transitioning from scripted to improv. But before I do that, so I have a bunch of questions on that, I want to talk about you as a singer. You have a really gorgeous singing voice, and I just wonder if you've had training there and how your path has grown as a singer.
Yeah, definitely had vocal coaches over the many years, and always singing in choir at church or in school, and just always working to be better at it. Yeah. And it's always changing, and I'm always growing. And as far as my singing is concerned, because your voice changes over time as you grow as well. So.
Is there a particular type of music you like to sing? Do you mostly like to sing theater related things, or do you like to sing stuff that's not related to theater?
I do love singing Broadway music that when it's in my range and I can just sing really, really loud. That's my favorite. It sounds so silly, but yeah, when it's a really emotional, meaningful song that has a poignant moment in the show, I love singing those kinds of songs. It's not it's weird, I don't really listen to that kind of music as much as I love to sing it. I listen to more alternative indie folk and that kind of thing, but I always love to sing those more Broadway hits. Yeah,
that's great. That's awesome that you have done that for us in the history of CTC. Yeah, this is, and for those of you who didn't know, Sophie played Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors. And coming up, we'll have a Little Shop of Horrors cast reunion that'll be playing in the next I don't know what time is, but you'll see that coming up soon. So we'll get to talk even more about singing those Broadway ballads, Broadway belting songs.
That was a great show for those songs. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So to talk a little bit more about you as a performer, to my mind, you made the transition from scripted to also improv, but is that correct? Were you doing like scripted first and then went to improv, or had you done improv before?
Absolutely. No, I had never done improv until we did Bravo in 2017. I think I had taken a 101 class at the beginning, and then I got married that year, which is great. But I kind of like had stepped away for a while from like doing stuff just because that was such a important time in my life that I wanted to focus on. But I was excited about whatever fall show that's musical, the show that the CTC would be doing. And when I found out it was an improvised musical, I was like, oh no, I don't improvise. Like I'm never gonna be in that show. And the fact, like I auditioned because everyone was like, you should just come audition. And it was such a fun audition. And I was like surprised that it was just like playing around. And then I was absolutely like shocked and excited that I did get cast in the show. And I've been addicted to that ever since. Like, yeah, I'll tell you a secret. That's not I like maybe a year and a half to 2 years ago before. Yeah, I just remember like crying in the shower. Like I wish that we did more musical improv. And then like, that's all we've done. Not all, but all of a sudden that has come back in the past year for me in such an amazing and special way. So yeah, I'm just so happy.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting because I don't really see myself as an improviser either. And the idea of doing something like that, a full-length improvised show, sounds like very scary and very daunting. So did you have to do much what was it like to take that leap to say like, okay, because it's one thing also to get cast in it, but then to realize like, oh, I'm in it. Ooh, I'm doing it.
Yeah. I think what was great about Bravo is that we were all learning. So there was a lot of head work going on because we were all learning and trying to figure out like what it meant to do an improvised musical. And then there were just moments where it turned into play. And in those moments, it just becomes so fun. And so I think this past year with the patio musical, a lot of it for me was more play. And there's definitely moments where you get stuck about thinking about things, but I think maybe the freedom of it being outside and there wasn't much else going on, it was sort of just like a joy and a pleasure to get to even do anything. So just, yeah, it was so much more in the realm of play, I think. I feel like I've strayed a little bit.
No, totally. I think I was like around the theater when Bravo was happening, but I wasn't involved with that show directly. And I saw like several of the performances and things. And from what I was hearing was that it was really good process, but it was really hard because it was so new. And so it felt like, my perception is that it felt like you all were just trying your best to learn something new, and like end result like wasn't as paramount as like, this is our way of learning this new like skill of improvising. And so I think we just did a Sweeney Todd cast reunion, and so Eden and Jason Chile were part of that, and they were both part of Bravo as well, I think. Yes. And so you get the sense from them, who are like very experienced, practiced performers, but not super experienced improvisers, that that show, just how hard that show was for all of them to put on. And I just like to remind people, I mean, for you, it sparked something in you for improv, but I think for others in that show, like, I don't know, I just like to remind people that like we have an improvised musical program now, essentially, and it's kind of like a go-to thing that we have as part of the theater now. And we're now branching into like school shows and things like that with the improvised musicals, and it carried us through the summer last year. And really, the only way we were able to do that is because of Bravo, because you guys put in that effort to say we don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
We've never done anything like this before, but we're just going to try, and we're going to put ourselves through that sort of trial by fire of like putting on a show that we don't know how to do. So I'm grateful for that, because it really, I think it's added a whole other dimension to our like improv program.
Yeah, I'm definitely grateful for it too. Absolutely.
So you went from that, and now you're part of, this past year, maybe the year before, you were part of Whodunit as well, which is not a musical. And so I wonder if that feels different at all, doing improv that's not a musical versus that is.
For me, it definitely is. I always, like, Whodunit is so much fun. We have such a great time, and it's so over the top, and it's great. But I still sometimes I still get in my head about Whodunits. Yeah, because I don't know if it's just still part of the improv learning process for me. Yeah.
Does it feel more nerve-wracking to do Whodunit or to do a patio musical?
To do Whodunit. Yeah, no, I think for me, there's something about singing that's really comforting, and it feels like home for me. So all of Whodunit is a lot more remembering of very specific, like, small things that people have made up over the course of the show. And recall is something that I'm working on learning how to do better, because it doesn't come naturally to me. What comes naturally to me is singing about how I feel. So
yeah, I remember when you all were working on Whodunit in 2020, I was there for many of the rehearsals. For people who don't know, when we do improvised work, there's still a rehearsal process that goes into it. You don't plan what you're saying like in the shows, but it's learning the skill of how to work together, like how to create the show, how to work within a structure of the show. And so I was watching that, and the amount of stuff you to keep in your head or keep track of in Whodunit, because it's very story based, and it's very like you have to tie it all together because it's a murder mystery. So if someone dies, you have to be able to justify like why they died and why someone killed them, and bringing back these stories. That's like it's wild. It's wild watching you all build those skills together.
Yeah. And I feel grateful for every single cast member in those shows, because sometimes I feel out of my depth sometimes with those, and everyone's so great. It just all ends up working out in the end.
So so now that you've kind of like you've done obviously regular like scripted musicals, you've done non-musical scripted theater, you've now done musical improv, non-musical improv. Is there one that you like the best, or is there one that you are excited to work on the most, like going forward?
I just as like right now, I am missing a scripted musical. It's been since Little Shop since I've had the opportunity to do a scripted musical. And I have so much fun with the improv that it holds its own place in my heart, but like I miss diving into an existing character and finding out who they are, and bringing a story to life in that, like that kind of work. I miss that.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Do you have like any like advice for folks who are like in the scripted realm or just who haven't improvised before for, I don't know, encouraging themselves to kind of take that leap?
Oh, just do it. Like, even if your goal isn't to be in a performance ever, you learn so much about being on stage or just existing on stage from improv. And I think it is really helpful. It's a helpful way of framing it's a helpful way of learning your quirks and learning like status and just how the way you act can influence other people, or like you're training yourself to pick up small facial body language cues from the person you're on stage with, and just how to be a better scene partner. Those are all like very important skills that you can learn in improv that you can bring into scripted work, so that your scripted work feels fresh and alive every single performance, and it doesn't feel like you're kind of stuck in something. Yeah, so I would say, again, even if your goal isn't to be in a full-length improvised show, take 101. Like, it's, even if you take 101 5 times, because it's going to be a different class of people every single time, like, you will have fun and you'll learn something about yourself and about what it means to be a performer.
That's great. I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you so much, Sophie, for chatting with me, taking some time out of your day. And everybody, look forward to seeing Sophie all around the theater all the time now, and also probably out on the patio in the musical this summer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tammy.
Yeah, thanks.